Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. Big up your damn selves in the building. Make sure you smash up the likes every single damn time and subscribe if you are new. News. Matt Law breaks it. Fabrizio retweets it. He says, I've said this already. Hold that. Emphatically, bombastically, Chelsea looking at release clause contracts as their predicament and position in the table would assume we're not going to potentially be able to afford those big money targets and the competition and the wage packages that they will warrant and request. So we are looking at release clause players with no negotiation, of course, wages that are within our means, within our budget. It's not a surprise. Nico Williams and Sesko, we're going to be discussing both. But let's start with Williams at Athletic Bilbao. Basically always plays on the right-hand side of that attacking front line on the right wing. His brother sometimes playing on the left-hand side. In terms of his injury history, I always look at this because, of course, our medical situation is in absolute tatters. He has a couple of injuries accumulated over the seasons. Picks up maybe 3 or 4 this year, 3 last year. Muscular injuries, abductor pain and injury and hamstrings and nothing abnormal, nothing shocking, nothing like that keeps him out for 3-4 months. Most of these have only made him miss 1 game, 2 at a push. So it's not the end of the world, but we know that Chelsea can always amplify any issue and any injury. So we have to, just note that down and take caution. But he's 21, plays on the right flank. And that tells me that, Madueke is at risk here. Maybe Angelo goes back out on loan to a Strasbourg if we move for a player like this. It's a £43 million release clause. And Matt Law further on says that Sterling and Mudryk this summer are both Chelsea players and they're both committed to Chelsea both ways, recipient. So for me, it's not a shock. It's not a shock in terms of Mudryk and Sterling. Mudryk cost a lot of money. There's a lot of kind of investment in his talent because we know Chelsea paid an initial fee and then add-ons that included, achievements and bonuses and whatnot. And they clearly back the player. Every time that we are kind of given a Leao link or given a left winger link, they always say, no, the Mudryk project, the Mudryk investment is something that we believe in, that we're going to stick with. It's not something that you can just quickly flip and switch between. He's not a cheap investment. So not a surprise. Sterling, on the amount of money that he's on, whether you want him to go to Saudi or not, he has to agree. And the money that he's making at Chelsea, which is over 300,000 a week in a comfortable London, position where he's comfortable and he's chilling and he's going to try and break into that England squad and try and be as, up close and personal with Southgate as he can be to make these squads. He's not going to go to Saudi and potentially jeopardize that. So not surprising. As much as you might not like it, that's reality. That's the situation we put ourselves in with those 2 players. We have to develop Mudryk. Even if we don't rate him highly, even if I think he's worth half the price we paid, etc., we have to develop him. It's not optional. It's a must. It's a must bust. Unless someone comes in like an Arsenal with a fee that, balances out the books. The book value is kind of equaled and we go and make that sale. But like I said, I don't really see that happening. So the right wing is what we, go and take a look at. And that is where Williams comes into play. If we're going to have a striker next season that puts his chances away, the chance creation also has to be there. The deliveries, the decision-making, the kind of awareness of space and the awareness of options, which we don't have in abundance with Sterling, obviously making crazy decisions every game. Now, my problem with this is regardless of what you think of the talent, I'm not even going to talk too much on the talent. 3 goals, 6 assists, 22 games, cool, whatever. He's 21 years old. Another 21-year-old, another young player to add to another young player to add to the young players that we have in this position already. On the right wing, we are stacked with young players. The one thing that would make more sense on the right wing is maybe if we brought some experience, if we brought some certified, clear quality. Not someone who's up against Doku and he's better than Doku this week and, we think that, no. The next big thing, someone that is certified, someone that comes in with leadership qualities, potentially someone that's been there and done it, that can, kind of settle the team, someone that can deliver and guarantee output. Especially if you're right-footed on the right wing, you're not going to get many goals. We saw it with William. William's now gone to the left wing at Fulham. He looks a little bit more in his bag. He takes his shots, cuts in on it. Even when Hazard was sometimes out, William would go to the left wing, he'd cut in, he'd take more shots. It's very difficult for a right-footed right winger to get a high output of goals. They're usually going to be used as a touchline winger. They're going to get crosses in. They're going to be trying to knit up and create opportunities from there. But it's difficult to get your shots off, same as a left foot on the left wing. Now, there's some that can do it and do, Gareth Bale at Tottenham before he switched over to the other flank. Leroy Sané at Manchester City. These guys can get goals from their favoured foot on their you know, on the crossing side, but it's difficult. Most of the time, a right footer is going to cut in and take his shots from there and give you goal output that way, give you inverted forwards. Again, we're not going down the inverted forwards route if we're going with Williams on the right wing. And that means there's more emphasis on the striker to get goals. At the moment, only Jackson and Broyer and Washington and all these guys, Dacha Fofana, which don't guarantee goals, are in the middle. So it puts even more pressure on the striker. Is that the right decision? For me, no. I think we should be trying to get goals across the front line. Williams hasn't got a track record of giving goals like that, and this team lacks goals. So even though he might help from a chance creation, even though he might be exciting, even though he might be a potential player in the future that is world class, he's not right now, and that's what we need right now. And we've already got young potential wingers in that position. There's loads of them. We've got Kendry Pires coming in, we've got Angelo, we've got Madueke. So this is just another 21-year-old to add. That's going to need time to acclimatise. That's going to need time to develop. That's going to have rough patches. That's going to... Because when Doku started at Man City, everyone was like, oh, Doku's going to be the best winger in the league. He's the best. No, he needs time. He needs milk and, you know, food and bread. And same thing here. Same thing here. So for me, am I excited? Again, no. Purely because I just don't feel like we need another young player in the attack. I don't think we need another young player in the squad. And I know why we're doing it, because it's all we can afford. That's not a good thing. I mean, if that's the reasoning behind it, some of the reasoning behind it, it's not a good thing. Is he a talented player? I'm sure he is, okay? I'm sure he is, just like all these other guys are. But we already have talent. So what can we do to get the best out of that talent? For me, it's not stockpiling 21-year-olds. It's actually bringing in the experience that, you know, the experienced player is there for the now, deliver now, and gives the opportunity for Madueke, Angelo to develop and to improve as the years goes on as understudies, and then they can hopefully take the mantle in a couple of years' time. But we'll see what happens with this deal. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets done. Now, so Mudryk and Sterling are most likely going to stay. Williams looks like he could be an option to come in. Sesko is another one up front. Again, £43 million release clause, I think it is as well, 50 million euros from Leipzig. Has been in and out, not really getting regular game time all season, but has now started to get a few more minutes here and there, and started to get on the goal scoring sheet and whatnot. He was always going to be a stepping stone from Salzburg to then Leipzig, and then obviously the next move would be to go to one of the top teams. Is he ready? Again, is he ready to lead the line for Chelsea? Is he ready to do more than Jackson? He's obviously a different profile, but again, he's going to be coming into a situation where he's coming to a club of this magnitude for the first time, not having, by the way, smashed it at Leipzig, where he's absolutely doing a ridiculous Timo Werner level of goal output before we signed him. He's been rotated and looked after and in the team and out the team, and he's other strikers that can kind of come in and lead the line for him, and he can come and make his cameos. So again, does that justify coming to Chelsea and now expecting him to come and put up 20 goals, which is what we need? It's very important to understand what we need, because when you understand what we need, then you understand what we must get. We need someone to put 20 goals in the back of the net for a campaign and allow Jackson to kind of play on the wing and allow Jackson to play as a second striker, to come off the bench, to sometimes start if this person's injured, but to kind of just be, you know, in the foreground a little bit more and not be the guy that has to be, you know, every single week. Sesko doesn't provide that guarantee. He doesn't provide that... that kind of seal the deal, that's your guy, hang your hat on him, he delivers in the big moments. Another young player, another potential, another release clause, another easy deal to do, another guy that could be something. But again, what manager wants to deal with everybody who could be and nobody that is? Nobody that delivers, but everybody could be this, could be that. What manager wants to deal with that? Even if a manager can develop players, has anybody ever thought how difficult it is to develop every player? How difficult it is to develop all the players? I can develop players. It doesn't mean I can develop everybody at the same time when you need them, which is right now. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, we're doing managers a disservice by giving them this amount of young players, especially when they're not Premier League proven, especially when they're not they haven't accumulated a high amount of games in this league, and then you're asking them to acclimatise to this league and the physicality of it and the speed of it, and then on top of that they're young anyway, so they were always going to be inconsistent. And usually you'd want your new signing to have their first year to bed in, and then you go in second year and expectations go up. It's difficult for us, but we keep doing these things. The final thing today was obviously Thomas Tuchel potentially willing to swallow if Chelsea owners are willing to swallow their pride, Thomas Tuchel would consider a return to Chelsea. Todd Bowie believes that the club was significantly better placed when he was in charge. It's facts. We were 5th, I believe, when we sacked him. Obviously, we had just lost in the Champions League group stages, but we were not out of the Champions League. That's from Sport Blind, German publication. This is a move that, again, if it's Todd Boehly versus Eghbali and it's youth versus Ronaldo, and I want to sign players that are going to bring commercial value in terms of shirt sales, but they're actually proven and they're high profile players. We've gone from that to now signing loads of young players with potential. Todd Boehly and Eghbali don't seem to really be singing from the same hymn sheet. With Tuchel, bringing him back would be incredible, I have to say. I think for me, yes, there were things at the end of his tenure, like the Gilmore decision, leaving certain young players out in pre-season, playing Gallagher in a double pivot, you know, his recruitment, which, again, I have to emphasize, he should not have been in charge of. He should not have been the guy to go and say, I need this player, I need that player. That's what a sporting director is for. That's for head of recruitment. When we sign Aubameyang, when we sign Sterling, when we sign Wesley Fofana, who's now basically injury stricken, we can't see him on the pitch. When we sign these players, people say, oh, Tuchel had a bad window. But Tuchel never wanted to be the sporting director. Tuchel never wanted to recruit players. You took Petr Cech from him. We just saw that news come out, right? Petr Cech left. They had a conversation. They didn't see eye to eye on the same project. You get your new staff in. Todd Boehly ends up doing the sporting director role, but he doesn't know players. He doesn't know football. So he's WhatsApping Tuchel for recommendations. For me, that's not how a football club should run. It's unfortunate that the ownership change took place in his reign, because otherwise maybe he would have been able to, continue to work with Petr Cech and Roman Abramovich and Mourinho. And not to say it was perfect. Like I said, we brought in Lukaku. That was a mistake. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't this bad. It was nowhere near this bad. And that guy had us in 2 cup finals, in the top 4 for us to play Champions League under Potter, and, in a season where there was more than enough excuses. But he took accountability. And that's what I loved about him. He took accountability and he wanted to win. Regardless of Lukaku's interview. Regardless of the fact that we had to take buses to Middlesbrough in cup games because we couldn't afford to tap our Barclays card for a flight. Regardless of the sanctions. Regardless of all the noise. All the speculation about his future and the club's future. And all of he still managed to get us results. And people talk about 3 at the back. And people talk about, the style of play. Again, for me personally, it goes hand in hand with some of the players that we had in that attack. I don't rate them. They have not gone on to do incredible things. Havertz is obviously now starting to show some green shoots at Arsenal, but in my opinion, still not someone to hang your hat on, still not someone to build an attack around. And these are the players that come in under, obviously, Frank Lampard. Not Tuchel signings. Timo Werner, what is he doing now? On loan at Tottenham. Leipzig don't want him. Mason Mount injured. Again, was a midfielder turned attacker because of the output. I think there's more to it than just saying, oh, Tuchel's not good enough. Tuchel's not a great manager. Tuchel is going to take Bayern Munich potentially to, let's see who they get in the next round, but they're going to go to the last stage of the Champions League. I know he's having a bad season this season in the league. He's 10 points off Leverkusen, but again, some middle ground. Leverkusen are unbeaten. Leverkusen are literally untouchable right now. Don't get me wrong, Bayern Munich should be doing better than this. But again, for us, for where we're at, this guy would not have us in 11th. He would not have us in mid-table. So if you're a person that wants Mourinho, I would look more at Tuchel, because at least the level of his accomplishments are more recent in terms of the quality of his accomplishments, the Champions League win, the cup wins in the Super Cup. At least you can draw to something that's recent. With Mourinho, you have to go further back. I don't think Tuchel's finished. A lot of people don't want him. His stocks are low. But if they could repair the damage, that would be great. That would be great, because I don't think we should have sacked him in the first place. And at least have some sort of system where the sporting director understands what Tuchel wants, and then you can kind of mirror it. But I've said all of that. It's not going to happen, in my opinion. Is he the best manager to go and develop some of these young players, the squad that we've been given and that we have? Probably not. You'd have to say no. Does he want to deal with all of these players that you've just brought in? Does he want to deal with all of these young players that you keep bringing in? This emphasis for Williams and Sesko. Does he want to deal with all these kids? No, he doesn't. So this will never work. It won't happen. It's right manager, in my opinion, wrong ownership. Because he was Chelsea. He got his banner for a reason. He understood what it meant to kind of represent this club. He brought that connection that a lot of fans are missing. But Tuchel with these young players doesn't work. Tuchel with this ownership, we've already seen, doesn't work. Eghbali is not going anywhere. Regardless of what Todd Boehly thinks, this is not going to happen, in my opinion. As much as I'd love for things to go back in time and we change the way we did things and we give him more, it's not going to happen. So that's how it is. So yeah, guys, make sure you give me your opinions, though, in the comments down below on these these situations with Tuchel, with Sesko, and with Williams. That's my take. That's my feelings and thoughts on it. But let me know yours in the comments down below. Make sure you smash up the likes and subscribe. Big up your damn selves. In a bit, people. Peace.